It's time for a good old-fashioned whodunit. Welcome back to the channel, Book Dragons. I'm so glad you're here with me. I'm going to be doing a book review today for Butcher, Baker, Candlestick Taker by Patricia Meredith. This is book one of the Spokane Clock Tower Mysteries, and it is a self-published mystery series. You don't hear that very often for the mystery genre, so this is actually really cool. And I had heard so many good things about Patricia Meredith and her writing. I was really intrigued by these books. So on a whim, at the end of last year, I bought all of the ebooks because I just had a gut feeling that I was going to really enjoy the books. And so far, I was right. I really enjoyed this book, and I just want to tell you a little bit about it, kind of whet your taste buds for what it's about and what it's like, and then I hope you'll pick it up and judge for yourself. So this is a cozy historical mystery set around the turn of the century in Spokane, Washington. It takes place around the time of the construction of the Spokane Clock Tower, which is where the series gets its name. And it's labeled a historical mystery because of all the history that is wrapped up in the story. So I quite enjoyed that. It was quite interesting. And not only is there a lot going on in this small town with the events of the clock tower being built, but also there just happens to be a string of thefts that have taken place recently. And eventually, as the story progresses, there is a shocking murder as well. So I do want to give you the main characters in the story. I'm not going to give you their names because when you go to read the book, I want you to kind of be surprised as to who is who. But one of the characters is somewhat of a prodigal child who has spent the last few years in Seattle and has moved back home to Spokane. There's a clockmaker and inventor who has just arrived in Spokane from the East Coast to begin drawing up designs for the new clock tower. There's a Japanese swordsmith who has a very unique skill. There's a local patroness with unknown sources of wealth that is obsessed with Japanese culture and design. And this patroness also employs a married couple who take on the roles of her maid and her chauffeur. And she also employs a somewhat mysterious butler. There's a mysterious thief with very unique tastes, and there's a buddy cop duo of two brothers. Those are the main characters in the story. So it is a small cast of characters, but each character plays a pivotal role in the book. I really enjoyed the way that these characters were designed and fleshed out, and I loved the way that Patricia Meredith was able to convince me that each of these characters is a worthy suspect in the crimes. So what did I like about the book? One thing that I really liked was how smart and yet accessible the story is, and how skillfully she wove the story elements together in a way that is reminiscent of Agatha Christie. And that is definitely a compliment. This book did not feel derivative in any way comparing to Agatha Christie, but the reason I brought up Agatha Christie is because the kind of skill that it takes to weave a story in the way this story is woven is just as good as Agatha Christie. So that's why I brought Agatha Christie up, because I'm a huge fan of Agatha Christie, and I just absolutely loved reading this story and the way it was put together and the way the mystery elements were executed. It was just phenomenal. The atmosphere is detailed and concise. We're given enough information about the historical backdrop. There are some books that you read where the history is elaborated on to such an extent that it overshadows the actual plot and development of the story, and that's not the case here. We understand where it takes place, we understand some of the things that are happening at this time that brought these characters together, but other than that, the story is left to shine on its own, and I thought that was really well done. I really enjoyed all of the characters. They were really well developed. And I especially liked the Japanese swordsmith. The Japanese man is just a fantastic character, really well thought out. It's clear that the author wanted to create a believable international character set in this American setting, and I thought it was just so good. All of the other characters were great as well. The two brothers, one of which is a police detective and the other is a police officer, really click well together. They have a lot of witty banter between the two of them and some really funny moments. And I just really enjoyed that. I found that I really like a good buddy cop element in a story, and this was very well done. Not only did I enjoy the Japanese swordsmith, but I enjoyed a lot of the Japanese elements that were incorporated into the story in general. As I mentioned, the patroness is rather obsessed with Japanese culture and design aesthetics, and I just loved seeing a lot of those elements as the story walks us through her house and seeing different things that she's put in her house that harken back to Japanese culture. I thought it was just fantastic. And again, something unique, something different. I really enjoyed seeing that, especially because I myself really enjoy a lot of aspects of Japanese culture and house design and different things like that. So that was really cool to see in this story. I really liked how well researched the historical background was for the story. In fact, there's a whole section at the end of the book, in the appendices, after you finish the book, where she talks about everything in the story that was taken from the history of early Spokane. And I found that really fascinating to read, and it helped me to gain a deeper appreciation of the story. After reading that, I kind of looked back on some of the elements in the story, and I'm like, oh wow, that's actually kind of cool the way that was done. So kudos to the author for incorporating so much history into this book. I liked that it wasn't predictable at all. You don't want a mystery to be super predictable, right? And so I really thought that she kept me on my toes the entire time. I felt like I do when I read an Agatha Christie novel. I'm constantly trying to think about, okay, well, maybe this person did it. Oh, wait, well, no, maybe it's this person over here. Or maybe it's both of them. I kept guessing the entire time, and I really like that when I'm reading a mystery book. I don't want to sit down and realize that, oh, I already know who did it, and I'm 20% into the book, right? So that was really well done. And this story just has plenty of intrigue and also a lot of really good food. And I think that's part of what makes it a cozy mystery is they just really like to eat in this book. And so I love that. I found myself being hungry constantly throughout the book. I'm like, oh, wow, I'm just, that sounds so good, and I need to go find something to quench my taste buds. Oh, yeah, there were a lot of good sounding recipes in this book, especially some of the Japanese food that they had in the story. I'm like, okay, yeah, that sounds really good right now, because I love Japanese food. I really do. I love Asian food in general, but especially Chinese and Japanese food. And yeah, so that was really great for me to have that in the story. So you may be wondering what I didn't like. There is one thing that I didn't like, and that is the fact that it ended quite abruptly. Don't get me wrong, everything was resolved. We found out who the culprit or culprits were. We found out all the answers. We got everything we needed to know, but I was kind of hoping for more of a extended epilogue to see kind of where the characters go, what they're doing. There wasn't really much of that at all. And that doesn't detract from the story at all. Don't get me wrong, it really doesn't. And it also sets up future books. So I think that was probably kind of intentional because she wants you to read the other books in the Spokane Clock Tower Mysteries. I totally get it. And so I'm very happy with how the story turned out. And I just would have liked a little bit more of a, oh, by the way, here's where these characters are now, and here's what they're thinking about after all this has been resolved. You know, what are they planning for their lives going forward? So, yeah, I thought it was done well, but I would have liked a little bit more exposition at the end. But really, Patricia, it's fine. This was a fantastic story. If you're wondering how I ranked this book, I put it in my soaring category. This was a fantastic mystery. Like, seriously giving Agatha Christie a run for her money if Agatha Christie was still alive, right? Just really enjoyed this book so much, and I can't wait to read more in the series. I recommended it to several friends who like mysteries as well, because this was just top notch for me, and I think I'm even going to buddy read it with my friend Mona Lisa over at Mona Lisa Reads sometime in the near future. So we're gonna start reading some of the other books in the series, and I can't wait to read more from Patricia Meredith. I really can't. And I believe she has a YouTube channel as well, and if I can find her YouTube channel, I'm going to link it in the description below so you can go check her out, because I think I remember seeing that she has one and seeing some of her videos where she talks about writing and different things like that. So if you're interested in that, you should definitely check out Patricia Meredith. I will leave links to all her stuff in the description below, including a link where you can purchase this book. I highly recommend that you do. And before you leave, let me know in the comments below if you've read this book, if you like mysteries, and if you haven't read this book, is it something that sounds intriguing to you? Do you think you would enjoy reading it? I think you would. I might be biased, but hey, you know, this is a video about my opinion, so I say you go pick it up and read it. Until next time, guys, make sure you're reading more books. I'm so happy you joined me. I'll see you soon.